Hey everyone, I hope you watched the introduction video before. We're gonna jump right into it. So, let's start by creating a repository for Strapi. Okay, so let's call it Strapi demo. Strapi demo. It's gonna be private at the beginning. I guess it doesn't really matter. Create repository. I'm just going to set it up with GitHub Desktop, but obviously you can set it up with Git. If you look at the Get Started guide on strapi.io, you will see that you can create a new project just by calling npx create Strapi app, name of your project, and then quick start. What you can do also that is not mentioned here is use npm init. I believe it's a feature of npm that has been added version 6.2 if I'm not mistaken, and basically what you can do is use npm init Strapi app, and it's basically shortcut for npm create dash. So npx create dash will basically be replaced by npm init. So really what we want is Strapi app npm init. So I just started npm init Strapi app, and I put a dot, also not exactly mentioned in the documentation. If you already have a GitHub, Git repository, and you don't want exactly to create a folder, you don't need to specify the name, just precise a dot, and you will not create a directory with the project, but install the project right there. So that's exactly what's happening right now. You got your Strapi app. It will install the dependencies and start the project, so you can see how it looks right away. So one thing that we should do is create our two databases. Like I mentioned in the introduction, we're going to use Google Cloud SQL, and so we need to jump into the Cloud console. So to get into Cloud SQL, it's really simple. Just go to your console.cloud.google.com and look for SQL. You can really easily create a new instance. Choose PostgreSQL for our use case. Choose an instance ID. I'm just going to use Strapi demo. The default password, really, well, whatever you want, and it's going to be the password for Postgres user. Then you can choose the region, the zone, the version of PostgreSQL, and then click create. It might take some time, but let's get a look at Strapi in the meantime. I'm definitely ready to start. So that's your development environment. You pretty much want your development environment to be the same as Strapi bootstrapped it for you. There's not a lot of things to change for the development environment. One thing that I would say is you can add a couple of plugins, and that is extremely useful. One that I will add is GraphQL. When you're installing plugins and when you're developing in Strapi, it will basically generate a lot of files, and then you can commit those files, and that's how really you would develop with Strapi. You can definitely do everything using the user interface, and it's actually really a great development experience, in my opinion. You can create content types, and it will generate the file to create the API for you to fetch those data. Here what's happening is that it's installing GraphQL, adding it to the package.json, and then building it again and starting the server again. Let's see if our instance has been created. Not yet, it's being updated. What you can see is in Strapi you have a database.js file. Strapi comes right away with this parameter that is called emp, and it's allowing you to use environment variables. And with environment variables you can control exactly what will be the options depending on, well, the environment. So in production you will have different settings, in staging you will have different settings, and in development, like this is the case, you will have those settings, for example. So that's pretty much what I want. I want to keep those settings when I have the development environment. So what I have here is the production, what I would call the production connections. It is using Postgres like we want. So to use Postgres with Strapi, you need to actually install another dependencies, which is pg for Postgres. And what I want, we actually don't need this environment host. What we want is Cloud SQL and the environment of an instance connection. So we are going to add a couple of environment variables for our staging and production environment. Instance connection name, database port is actually not necessary with Cloud SQL. So we have database name, database username, and password, and it will be, like I will show you in a minute, used in Google Cloud console. So we do have here production connections, and that should be it. So we want to deploy in Google Cloud Run. And to deploy in Google Cloud Run, really what you need to do is just having Docker file. And with a Docker file, you can just create an image, uploading it to Google Cloud Registry, and then Google Cloud Run will use it. You will need to specify when you deploy Google Cloud Run that you want to use this image as you create it, and that's pretty much the idea. It's extremely simple to get started. Okay, so the Docker file looks like this. It looks like this. So first we can use a lightweight version of Node.js 12 as the image. Then we are creating and changing to the app directory. We copy the application dependency manifest, which is package.json, the package lock. Then we are installing the production dependencies, because in production mode you don't need the development dependencies. You will see that you don't exactly have any dev dependencies anyway with Strapi at the beginning. But as you develop, maybe you will have some development dependencies. So you might as well use the only production in the Docker file. Then you copy the local code to the container image, you are building Strapi, and then you are running the web service. You might want to ignore some files to be copied over, and so you can add a docker.ignore. Once you have a Docker file, you are pretty much set up for creating the image and uploading it to Google Cloud Registry. One thing that we're going to do is jump to our Cloud console, and we can see that Strapi demo, the instance has been created. So let's just create a database. Let's call this one Strapi demo production. And I'm going to create another one, Strapi demo staging. Sounds good. One thing it's going to need will be an overview and it's the instant connection name. So you can see here the instant connection name, and you will need this in the future. So now let's focus on actually deploying to Cloud Run. So we have a Docker file. What we need now is deploying to Cloud Run. So on the documentation of Cloud Run, you will see this command to create your image. And what you need is a project ID and then the name of the image that you want. My project ID is fullyron.com, and I'm gonna call that Strapi demo and production for this one. Okay, never mind, I did make a mistake. Here you might want to actually create a function to get the env, because by default it's not exactly available. It's not a global variable, so it's not exactly available. But that's a mistake that I made. Let's just replace that by a function. I'm going to say something kind of obvious, but you can, change the code in any way that you see fit. If you prefer to put everything right here without functions, you can. It's not going to change anything. So it's going to take a bit of time for it to create the image. Okay, one thing that I forgot is to add env, not env equal production, and the reason why it's important is because you will want to build your admin UI with a production configuration if you're running it for production. So yeah, don't be like me, don't forget this in your Docker file. Okay, now to deploy, it's kind of simple. gcloud run deploy and then -- image, the name of your image, and platform manage. Then you will get the name of your service. I leave it by default, it's going to be the name of your image, so Strapi demo production in my case. Choose the region. They will ask you if you want they will ask you if you want to allow unauthenticated invocations, and what it means is, do you want to make this website public, basically. I'm going to say yes. It doesn't mean that Strapi is not going to be protected and everyone is going to have access to it. What it means is it's going to be available publicly online. So if someone has the URL, it will be able to access Strapi. Okay, we can see now that an error happened that is related to the port variable. So let's check the server configuration. Everything seems in place. So now let's check the logs for this revision, and I think I know what's happening. To take a look, just go to Cloud Run, and you will see Strapi demo production, and the logs are just right here. One thing is important to know is if you never run any Cloud Run service in the past, you might have actually some Google Cloud API to enable, and it will show you in the logs what's not enabled, and usually they provide also links to it, so you just have to click the links and enable the different API. So definitely check the logs, because it might be just a question of enabling some APIs. So right now you see that it didn't start properly because it's trying to connect to Cloud SQL undefined, and the reason is because we don't have set our environment variable yet. And you can do it kind of easily, actually. Just edit and deploy in your revision. And what you need to do to connect to Cloud SQL is set the connection to Cloud SQL, your Cloud SQL instance, and you see in the list the Cloud SQL instance. Our Cloud SQL instance that we created is Strapi demo, so this one. So we just need to set this and then go to variable and add all the different variables that we need. So I think we have 4 different variables. We're just going to set it with the production values, meaning our production database, which was Strapi demo -production. And we are going to do then kind of the same thing for staging, except that the name of the database will be different. It will be staging. So let's do that. So that should be the correct value for our production environment. So once everything is set up, we can just deploy it. So let's see if it works, or if I again forgot something. Nice, it seems that it's working. Let's take a look. Here we have it. You have Strapi production environment and the server is running successfully. So it's not dashboard, it's admin by default. They encourage you to actually change the name and not put admin. We might take a look in another video if you want about how to change that, but that's currently what I have, Strapi demo in production. So the next part is going to be basically boring. I'm just going to do the same thing that I just did, but for the staging environment. So creating another image with this time the name of the image will be Strapi demo staging, and then running another service in Cloud Run that will run the staging Strapi. What you see is the command that I'm running is so the commands that I'm running are extremely similar, and all of that can be actually automated, and that's what I will actually show you in the next video, is how to make it so that everything is automated with CI and CD. We're going to do that with GitHub Action. You will have a development branch, a staging branch, and a production branch. So you will push the code in from development to staging. When you do that, it will just build a new image, the new Strapi demo staging image, and then Cloud Run will deploy a new version. So that's what we are aiming to do in the next video. I will try to write a document with every steps that I took on Medium and link it somewhere in the description. I will probably not write the document right away in the same time as the video. It will probably take me a day or two, or maybe more, just to summarize everything that I did in the video and put it in a document. But yeah, check in the comments or in the description. Maybe a few days later, you're probably going to see a Medium link to the blog post, so you can actually see the code and some part of the code that might be useful. So some part of the code that I didn't take too much attention 2 is the option for the production connections. I actually had quite some problems with it. Basically, the connection kind of times out. What I had to do is basically add this option with a pool, and the timeout values is set here to 30 seconds. So that's something that I had to do. Maybe you will have to do it too. So that will also be in the document. I'm using the same Docker file for staging in production. Basically, staging is a copy of production with different data. So it's the way I'm using it, the way I think most people are using it is before jumping into production, before modifying the data that you will see on the real website, you basically put the data on the staging environment. You check your staging website and you verify that everything is correct and everything is as you expected. So if you are adding a blog post, for example, you will want to see if the image that you added for the blog post renders properly on, for example, the latest article page and every part of your website that you can see the blog post. And you might not want to do it actually just right away in production and see suddenly that that's not a proper image, or there is something wrong with the size, or just it's cropped in one of the places that you actually don't want it to happen. So that's why staging is, in my opinion, a really good environment to have. And for some reason, a lot of tutorials just don't explain or just skip it. So I'm just leaving it here. So same thing as Strapi production, Strapi staging failed. Same reason we don't have our development, we don't have our environment variables. It's not connected to our Cloud SQL. Let's do it again. Strapi demo variables. We have 4 variables and let's add everything. So here we go. Let's deploy it. Let's hope it's working. And it seems to work, and here we have it. We have our different environments. So that's pretty much it. We do have our development environment that will exactly stay the same when we are developing locally. The staging environment is ready to go, and the production environment as well. So what I'm going to do is stop those instances to avoid, well, paying really. So I'm stopping Strapi demo for now, and I would recommend you do the same if you're developing just for yourself, or just a blog that you want to create, or just something that doesn't exactly require you to be constantly modifying the content. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'm just getting started making those kind of videos, making tutorials. If you find them helpful, just let me know. If you don't, just let me know as well. And yeah, next video, like I mentioned before, let's take a look at how to implement CI/CD on them. And sorry if I sound a little bit dead. I'm just a bit tired today. That's all. Thanks for watching. Bye.